President Trump signing the Big Beautiful into law on July 4th, celebrating with a military family picnic at the White House. So the bill extends the 2017 Trump tax cuts and phase-in cuts to Medicaid. Finally, is a significant legislative victory for the administration. House Speaker Mike Johnson telling Fox about what comes next for reconciliation.
We have always planned to do the first big reconciliation bill, which is the Big Beautiful Bill. Now it's done a huge leap forward for our priorities. But then also we've been planning a second reconciliation bill for the fall that would be attached to the next fiscal year, and then potentially one in the spring. That's my plan. 3 reconciliations bills before this Congress is over. You'll see more of us advancing these common sense principles to deliver that America First agenda for the people.
Joining me now is West Virginia Congressman Riley Moore. He's a member of the House Appropriations Committee. Congressman, good morning. And your reaction to what you heard from Speaker Johnson yesterday?
Well, good morning, Cheryl. Thanks so much for having me on. And look, it's no coincidence that Speaker Mike Johnson's initials are MJ. He is the Michael Jordan of politics right now. He is getting things done in the House. Many people have doubted him. I said on this channel here, the day the bill was being under consideration, oh, there's no way we can get it done, and never bet against Mike Johnson. He always gets it done. And look, I think we have to do additional reconciliation packages so we can continue to bend the curve as it relates to the debt in this country and get the spending under control.
I've got Liz Peek on set. She's got a question along those same lines, sir. Liz, go ahead.
Good morning, Congressman. I certainly agree that Mike Johnson is the most underestimated legislator of our era, probably. Does a great job over and over again of surpassing expectations. But on these other reconciliation bills, what will be the focus? Are there specific promises that were made to congressmen in order to get them to vote in favor of the Big Beautiful Bill that now will have to be addressed in these upcoming reconciliation bills?
No, there are no promises made to us, but it will deal, again, as reconciliation only can, mandatory spending. Obviously, I'm an appropriator. That's where we do the discretionary side of things, but it will deal with mandatory spending again, and probably deal as on other issues as it relates to the border and things like that, where we might need some additional funding. Unclear at this point, but we do know that it would deal with mandatory spending and getting us back on a track to fiscal health in this country.
But mandatory spending, except not Social Security. Am I right about that, that they're not allowed to address that?
Well, the president's been clear that he doesn't want to tool with Social Security. So we'll be looking in other places, obviously, and those conversations are going to be ongoing. But right now, we're just still celebrating the one big beautiful bill and then starting to plan on the additional reconciliation packages. I actually sit at the leadership table every Monday as part of House leadership, and I'm sure those conversations are going to be very fruitful and interesting as we move forward.
Well, and obviously the work needs to continue because, again, you know, if you look at the most recent Fox News polling, the bill didn't poll as well among those surveyed because of the concerns about the fiscal deficit and the debt that the nation was taking on, that $3.7 trillion. So obviously, if we can keep moving forward here, whether it's precision or reconciliation, that would certainly help you and your party kind of message this better, I would think, in particular because this could be something that the Democrats use in the midterms. And, you know, the bill also, I want to talk about the border, because it certainly is going to help border enforcement. $350 billion is going to border national security. You've got a group of 5 Democratic state lawmakers in Florida. They say they were denied entry into Alligator Alcatraz. They tried to visit the facility because they say there's safety concerns. Here's what they say. Alligator Alcatraz represents a makeshift detention camp of cruelty rooted in a corrupt, no-bid $450 million pay-for-play scheme to enrich GOP donors under the pretense of border enforcement. So here we go with things that the Democrats are using against Republicans. Your reaction?
Well, you touched on it. You cannot just skip over how huge this is. Ever since President Trump came down the golden escalator, what has he talked about? Securing our nation and reclaiming our sovereignty. Any nation state is defined by sovereignty. How is sovereignty defined? Defensible borders. And on July 4th, President Trump reclaimed our sovereignty in this country. We are going to finish the wall with this. We're going to have 700 miles of primary wall, 629 miles of additional border security and barriers in there, and then 900 miles of river barriers as well. And then don't let me forget here,
right,
with 10,000 additional ICE personnel, we're going to have 5,000 new custom officers. And then additional to that, 3,000 Border Patrol agents are going to be also added. ICE is actually going to be larger than several militaries in the world now, and we're finally going to be able to secure our border. And don't forget that the northern border is also an issue as well, so there's going to be resources that are going to be put up there. As we put the squeeze on the cartels down south, they're starting to push fentanyl now through the northern border as well.
Well, and certainly I was going to say, because now the Border Patrol agents can do what they should be doing, which is focusing on the cartels and the drug trafficking that's happening at both borders, to your point. Now they can do that with instead of babysitting migrants. Real quick, I want to ask you about this. There's this new poll aimed at drumming up support for New York City Mayor Eric Adams. This is kind of a broader take on the Democratic Party. So the incumbent, that's Adams, is trailing ex-Governor Cuomo by double digits, but both candidates are taking on this Democratic socialist, Zohran Mamdani. Three-way deal. Mamdani is still leading the pack, Congressman. I want to get your take on this because, you know, Mary Estacio O'Grady writes this morning in the Journal, The Lure of Comrade Mamdani, and she talks about how it's going to be interesting to see how Democrats embrace or don't this candidate in New York because he's got a socialist agenda. And they talk about Cuba, Venezuela, Argentina. These were prosperous, economically stable countries until socialists took over. And we saw what happened to them. And she says, look, Mamdani's not what he appears to be, and that's by design. How does the party, do you think, handle this?
Well, socialist is probably a polite way to put it. He is a communist, as President Trump has pointed out. He is trying to implement communist-style grocery stores that are controlled by the government. He's been very clear about capturing and controlling the means of production in New York City. He has said that. Now, I think part of what happened here is the old Democrat playbook where they tried to jam in one of their hand-picked traditional candidates, who is Cuomo, right? So the establishment came back and tried to force it down their throats, which created the opportunity for Mamdani to be able to even compete in this. So this gentleman is going to destroy this city if he is elected. So hopefully they're able to get their collective heads around that. And Cuomo, I think at this point, just needs to go away, and people probably need to get behind Eric Adams or the Republican candidate. But somebody's got to stop this, because this is one of our greatest cities in the country. We can't let it fall into the hands of somebody who certainly hates this country and hates the people of New York.
Do you want an anti-capitalist running the financial center of the world? If that's a great point.
Right.
Congressman Riley Moore, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll be right back, everybody.